Good afternoon and welcome to the Savannah Resources PLC investor presentation. Throughout the recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time by the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all the questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll, and I'd now like to hand you over to Emmanuel Prencher, CEO. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Thank you, Alessandro, and welcome everyone. I hope we'll have a good half an hour to an hour slot well spent with us, sharing a bit of the news on the Savannah Resources project, a project that continues to excite us. We are very excited to see that we have progressed very well over the last few months in almost all fronts. We had one specific front in which it took us a bit longer than expected to get to conclusions, and that's had a small impact on the timeline that we have talked about in the last communication we did. So apart from that, plenty of reasons to be more comfortable that the project is progressing well, and we'll see its start of production when expected. I will go through the presentation that Is and I prepared for you today. Please do send the questions that you may have as we go. I'm sorry that this model that we use is not as interactive as it could be, but I think it's the best solution that we have for the amount of people that join us and that wants to continue following the Savannah story. So looking forward to some further engagement on one-on-one, but for now, this is the best option we have. So looking at what we have on our side, and recalling what Savannah is, and the major holdings that we have and the recent performance, I think we've had good news. We are today one of the best performing lithium stocks year to date in a quite challenging global market scenario. We have made our way through an exercise of recredibilization, reacceleration of the project, and growth in some of the key markets. And so I think that this performance is worth highlighting. You will see in the shareholding structure that we have a group of Portuguese investors that has grown and seems to be continuing to grow. That speaks well to the work that we have done on the ground. Mario Ferreira and Luzi Aves are Portuguese investors. What you don't see there is that on the retail side of things, we also have more and more Portuguese retail investors, and that includes many people from the broader Trás-os-Montes region and from Boticas and the likes. And I'm very happy to see them coming to the register and become partially my bosses. You also know that in June we welcomed AMG to our register. Also, the partnership we have built with them keeps evolving well. The work that we're doing with them is of importance for the future of the lithium and battery value chain through Europe, and I think we are in the right path. And their holding, I think they're also happy with the holding, and they know how strategic and important it is. It is important to see and acknowledge exactly where we are in terms of the lithium market. We are in a period in which the global price for lithium is depressed, and it is clear that it is remaining depressed for a period that is slightly longer than we would expect. At the same time, it is clear that because of that, and also not only because of that, because of the evolution of the final products that this industry delivers and the interest in those final products, the fundamentals are stronger than ever. And the market dynamics remains very supportive of the development of a project that is to start producing in 27, as early as possible in 27. And two numbers for that affirmation. In a period in which Everyone is talking about a crisis on the electric vehicle and the numbers not growing as fast as they could or should. Well, it's a crisis in which the global market is growing by 22% in the first half of this year. So there are worse crises than this. And growth continues to be very strong, and the fundamentals driving that growth seem to be stronger and stronger. We're moving from a system that was mostly policy driven to a system that is more and more also demand driven, and driven by the quality of the products and the importance of the electric vehicle, but also BSSs and some other applications that require more and more lithium as we go. As we stand today and looking at what was the market last year, we are looking at growth of 2.6 times in the global lithium demand in only the next 7 years, and with acceleration from 27 onwards, an acceleration in demand that will be very hardly met by supply. And so everyone in the market is looking at a system that will very likely come back into deficits from 27 onwards, and that actually fits very, very well with exactly what we are doing and with our timeline. You will have seen, most of you will have seen the very recent acquisition announced by Rio Tinto of Arcadium. Arcadium is the global number 3. You may remember that our new chairman was part of the Arcadium construction, so the growth of the process of the project that led to the construction of this company called Arcadium. So it is an acquisition that we see from with close eyes. That Rio Tinto CEO made it very clear that it is probably in their interest that the short-term prices remain low. And I would agree in a sense. With these very low short-term prices, there is more demand, and the supply ramp up will be tougher, and we may experience a bigger deficit than anticipated ahead. And that's exactly when we are going to put our products to good use. So it will further support our project and the financials going forward. You, as interested parties in the lithium sector, will have seen that the CRMA targets, the ramping EU demand, the growing need for good EVs, the exploding demand of BSS, all of these things have improved the outlook for the system in the last 12 months, and so they only make us more confident that we are on the right track and that we are building a project that is important for Portugal, for Europe, and for the world. This is because our thesis is very solidly grounded on the fact that Europe will require a lot of lithium to feed its gigafactory capacity. The announced gigafactory capacity is significantly higher than the number that you see on the left of your screen, the 684. But we are being conservative and considering only 50 to 70% of the total announced capacity will go through. We are also being very optimistic about how we read the ability for integrated mines, geothermal brines, and other projects to come online and feed that system. So we are considering here on the integrated mines number a lot of projects that are challenging, significantly more challenging than us, because they are not spodumene, or because they are relating to the process, or because their economics are not as great and are a bit more and are a bit harder to execute on. Even with such a scenario, it is very clear that Savannah's product will be in tremendous demand and will be very much needed for the European system to have some degree of autonomy and some degree of control of supply. The deal we have done with AMG proves that we are in the right direction to feed that European system. It has allowed us significant room to further support the European industry and other projects. We will talk a bit more about that. We have also talked about how well placed the project is to feed the European lithium and battery value chain, but also the Iberian lithium and battery value chain that is being built. And perhaps we haven't spent enough time referring that second point. It is in Portugal that you have the most, or that you have more announced factories or refineries for lithium. At this stage, we're talking about potentially four refineries, two that are very frequently referred to, the Aurora and the lithium refinery. There is a potential additional lithium refinery and a potential additional AMG refinery down the road. For a country that is in the westernmost place of Europe, of continental Europe, and that is significantly smaller than its peers, it is relevant, and it shows how much Portugal can benefit from the development of this value chain. We have also referred, I think, last time, that as of today, almost or slightly more than one in every five cars produced in the EU are produced in between Portugal and Spain. We have an EV car plant quite close to our project. We have another proposed gigafactory that is quite close to our project. In Morocco, there were announcements of more than 10 billion of investment in the battery value chain only in the last months, mostly by Chinese firms, but significant projects of anodes, cathodes, battery assembly, and the likes. CALB has seen its project in Sines being classified as national interest only last week. So the system is moving, and it is moving clearly in the direction of being a tremendous opportunity for Iberia, and in particular for Portugal, to take advantage of this huge transformation in the automotive system and in the energy system that Europe is starting to go through. This is repeated by McKinsey, it is repeated by Mario Draghi, it is repeated by BCG, it is repeated by so many, and it is clearly starting to come to life when we look at these projects and at how many people are working on these projects. We're talking about hundreds of very specialized people working very well in trying to bring them to production as soon as possible. Our mission in all of this is to bring high quality European endogenous spodumene concentrates at scale to the benefit of all of this system. And we are very well positioned to do so because we have a great resource. We have a collateral, which is the quartz and feldspar concentrate production that yields an additional bonus in terms of value of the project. We have a resource that is quite shallow. It can be worked on in an open pit structure, and so with all of these things, and with the fact that we will be mostly hiring local people, which we already are, we can be very competitive even from a global perspective. And this is whilst complying with the most stringent standards of the world in terms of how to do mining. And those stringent standards are hard to work with. It was hard to get the environmental approvals. It was hard to get license. It is hard to execute the whole project on the basis of all the demands that this stringent legislation requires. But at the same time, we can do it, and we are doing it, and we are still very competitive from a global perspective. This number that we have referred to in the 50th percentile in the cost curve has two caveats to it. The first caveat is that it is today's global cost curve. It's not the global cost curve in 5 or 10 years' time. And the expectation is that as the market grows very fast, the demand grows very fast, supply that will feed that demand will potentially at some point become a bit less competitive. And so we may be even more competitive versus some of the peers that will come online in the future. And the second caveat is that we are not considering in those numbers potential advantages of producing in Europe, be it shipping or lead times that become cash value, or legislation just like the carbon border adjustment mechanism or the battery passports that make our products produced here and with the standards that it is produced perhaps more valuable than the others that come from abroad. When building the relation with AMG, we are building one of the first cornerstone elements of what we see is our vision for the whole battery value chain that we can support. You know that Savannah's project is on the start left of the value chain. We're producing the mineral, the most critical mineral for the battery value chain to be developed. We are now working with the most advanced refiner of Europe. AMG opened their refinery last month. They're now going through the ramp-up phase. They have plenty of work, but they are the first to open a large-scale lithium refinery in Europe, and we still have a lot of products that we can put to the service of carbonate or hydroxide refineries, and then CAM, battery plants, automotive industry as a whole, electric systems, and so on. So there's plenty of work to be done throughout Europe in building this whole value chain. We are very well positioned to support it, and we will benefit from it. Our shareholders will benefit from it. Our stakeholders will all benefit from it, and Europe will certainly be in a better position with our project than if it would be without it. Looking at what has happened in the last few months, I'd like to share a few things with you. The first one is that we have finalized that phase one of the DFS drilling program. We drilled 6,000 meters. We now have 35,000 meters of samples that have fed into our resource models, our JORC estimates, and so on. This drilling has yielded very good results. The highest lithium assay to date was returned in this drilling program, and it included 76 meters of drilling at an average of 1.85, or at a minimum of 1.85 lithium content in it, which is a great number by any standards globally. Throughout the world, you don't see very frequently this kind of results. We have confirmed that the ore bodies continue to have extensions, so we know that there will continue to be good news as we progress in the work of fully defining the resource. But I should tell you that at this stage, the objective is not to grow the resource as fast as that. It is to progress to execution and to production on what we already have fully confirmed and permitted and authorized to go. The second development was on the board side with the entry of Mike Connor and with Rick being a bit more established as chairman. The board's dynamics has also developed into being more geared to helping us accelerate the project execution. So I think it was a good and important development. A new phase of the company also needs to be followed by a new board structure and a new dynamic, and I think we are achieving that. It is now about also ensuring that that new way of acting also cascades down to the whole team. We continued to reinforce stakeholder engagements. We have hired locally. We have done daily meetings with everyone. We have an open door policy that is quite established now, and the level of trust locally is good enough for that open door policy to be welcomed. The team did a bus trip with plenty of local people to another mine in southern Portugal, and it worked out very well. It allows locals to better understand what it's like to live in a region where you have a mine and where that mine contributes heavily to the development of the region, to jobs, to the accounts of and the financing capacity of the local parishes and municipality. So it was an important exercise of openness and understanding for everyone. We continue to do these open warehouses events in which we now have hundreds of people coming and visiting and talking to us, and seeing that Savannah is composed of a team of people who are really motivated to do the right thing for the region and that they are part of, because our team is part of the region and includes mostly people who are from the region or have moved to live in the region and to make their living there. We also shared the interim results. We have now the highest ever cash balance for Savannah at over 21 million, or over 20 million pounds as of the end of June. We did the adjustments to the project timeline that was expected. Again, this adjustment had to account for the fact that we had to wait for longer for a permit that is about to come out. So that was not the news that we expected to have in that front, but it is part of the process of developing these projects, to accept that sometimes things take a bit longer and that we have to adjust our plan accordingly. The only good news associated to it is that that delay was the result of the change of governments and not the result of anything else. And as governments change in any country, there is a bit of an adaptation period. People come out, go out, some people come in, and you have adaptations and delegations of power that normally take a bit of time to be put in place. So it is kind of one-off events that generated this delay, and we hope that the timeline that we have today is much stronger and much more executable. We were cautious in building it. And last point that is worth mentioning is that the share price again navigated well through this bumpy weather that the sector had over the last months. We're growing in terms of valuation. We're growing in terms of Portuguese shareholding and Central European shareholding in the company. We now have a Portuguese investment bank, Caixa BI, very established and very credible, doing research on our share and confirming that it still has plenty of room to grow. So this is all important support to the further development of the project. I think we haven't shared too much on the who is helping us do the DFS, and so this slide is perhaps useful for everyone. So we have three international, very well-established global firms that are specialized in mining and in lithium, specifically working with us: Snowden, Sedgman, Minsol, and Knight Piazolt. Sedgman and Minsol, part of the same group, but they have two teams involved in supporting us. Some of these guys were involved in some of the largest projects of lithium in the world and some of the most successful projects of lithium in the world. So we know that we have very, very solid expertise supporting us, and that's good. At the same time, we are also supported by Quadrante, TPF, Landfound, and a few other firms that are Portuguese. And that is very important because we want to make sure that we have the best technology in the world and the best engineering solutions in the world, adapted to the Portuguese legislation, to the Portuguese setting, to the geography, to the ways of doing things here. And so this mix of international experts with Portuguese experts is very important. Both Quadrante and TPF and Landfound have a long history of supporting projects, industrial projects through the country and internationally also. So they are also very good supports to the further development of the project. And this is all coordinated by an internal team that is very experienced in building projects like this. Team members in the engineering and the technology teams out of Perth and Boticas have in the past been involved in the Pilbara expansions projects, for example, or in the first Pilbara project, in the Mount Catling project and the like. So that also ensures that we know what we are doing, and the team knows exactly how to get a project like this into production with the best quality possible. We have referred that the FS is to be completed in the second half of 25, as early as possible in the second half of 25. So that's exactly what we focus on delivering. But at the same time, as we progress in the project over the coming months, we will also keep you updated on developments and announce further confirmations of critical DFS elements as they come. So we'll keep you posted on that. In the last meeting, there was a question on land acquisition. So we thought we'd just do a small deep dive onto that point. So we now own more than 100 properties in the concession area. you will see that the footprint of the project is mostly geared towards the eastern side of the concession area in the first decade of operation. So the most important for us is to have control of that block of land, and we have progressed well in that direction with further acquisitions, but also with the acceleration of this land easement procedure that will allow us to start working in land that is not ours yet, with very clear rules, with a compensation, and with a very clear and well-established objective for the work that we do over the coming months when some of the land plots are still not ours. And at the same time, we are already working on preparing a scenario for expropriation. This is not because there are challenges associated to acquiring any given land plots for negotiation purposes. It is because projects in this region always require at some point an expropriation procedure, because there are some land plots that don't have a very well-defined owner, or because there are borders that are not defined between plots, or because there are inheritance issues associated to one or another plot. And so there always needs to be an expropriation process at some point. We're trying to ensure that that expropriation process applies to the least possible number of plots, because we continue to prefer friendly purchases, and we continue to have that program open. But at some point, when the project requires, we will also go through the other procedures that ensure that we have full control of the land and that we can progress to executing the project well, to the benefit of everyone. On the environmental confirmation work, progress is also being made. No news there, which is good news. It confirms that all the work is confirming what we expected, and that we will be able to submit the RECAPE, the next step of the environmental compliance process, when we were expecting, because the FS moved a bit. It caught the RECAPE process, so we now expect both to be done at the same time. At this stage, everything is going in the right direction, so we'll go through that process hopefully quite smoothly. On the stakeholder engagement, I also referred that we're making very good progress. We will continue to accelerate engagement with everyone, from the villagers to the relevant agencies and government bodies, to the Boticas municipality, to other regional businesses, to trade bodies, to universities, to NGOs. We're talking and engaging with everyone to make sure that everyone understands the project well. By doing that, we know that we are reducing the fears and the concerns that existed. The fears and the concerns around the project of this magnitude are totally understandable. We need to acknowledge that we need to address them, and that's exactly what we are doing. And as we are doing it, and as we are showing to everyone in the region what we are doing, and as we are hiring local, and as we are becoming more local ourselves, I think that the message that is being passed is now more and more positive, and that we have more and more people that are confident that what we are doing is a good opportunity for the region and will help the region thrive. Because of that, but also because of the importance of the project and the urgency of having more and better solutions for the benefit of the region, the country, Europe, and the world, we are happy to have seen support coming from many directions in the last few months. The future of European competitiveness, the report that was referred by Mario Draghi very often in the last few months, has an explicit reference to the lithium potential of Portugal. And when referring to that, it is implicitly referring to us and to the dimension of our project. It's as important as that. It is a project that is so important that is referred as part of the document that is meant to draft the strategy for European to remain competitive and to remain a good economic bloc and a good region to live in. In Portugal, we had endorsements by political parties at the debates that was done only 2 weeks and a half ago in Parliament. That debate was held after a petition by the opposition group that continues to exist and continues to make moves. But it was comforting and encouraging to see that only 14 out of 230 MPs voted to restrict our projects in reaction to that petition. It just reinforces our responsibility to do things right, but it also reinforces that by doing things right, we will serve well the country and we will serve well the region. The new government has followed the line of the previous government and reinforced at various occasions that developing the lithium and battery value chain in Portugal is important for Portugal and is a priority. And at the regional level, we still see caution by the political figures in the region. That caution is totally understandable, and it was not expectable at this stage that we would have vocal political support, but the working relationship and the trust are growing, and that is important. And there's a quote here by an MP of the main opposition party, PS, Nelson Brito. The quote is relevant because he's the representative of Aljustrel in the Portuguese parliament. And Aljustrel is a municipality that has a copper mine. And so he knows very well what he's talking about when saying that when you have responsible mining, the municipalities thrive and the populations benefit tremendously from the mine. So what has happened in the last decades in Aljustrel and in Castro Verde is certainly an inspiration for us, and it's something that we want to make sure everyone understands is part of what we want to do. We want to do that and better for the region. And on the international side, on top of visits by the UK and the German embassy teams to Savannah and Boticas, we had plenty of other opportunities to engage with tier one institutions throughout, and we got the vocal support by the US Deputy Secretary of State for Economic Growth, Energy and Environment only last week. So we added the quote that came out in the Portuguese press in that front. So all of this only reinforces, again, our responsibility and the need for us to progress well, fast, and to the best standards. But it is important to also acknowledge that we're not alone and that we're doing things that are being recognized as important by many. The last announcement to the market has referred where we are in terms of the timeline. So we are doing most of the things that we wanted to do in 24, but land access took a bit longer than we expected. And so the FS phase one, that is phase two, that is meant to start over the coming weeks, is starting a bit later than we would want. Still, we have expanded the project team and mostly the team on site, and that was an important step. We have progressed on the environmental licensing process. We have done a resource upgrade again on NOAA, and you've seen the numbers on Pinheiro. They're very exciting. So we're progressing in all fronts that we should be progressing. And with that in mind, we will want to start building in end 25, early 26, and hence start producing in 27 as early as possible in 27. So all of our efforts today are in the direction of ensuring that we do things very, very well over the coming 2 years, because they are very, very important years for the project. For many of you, it is normally referred that 27 will be the objective. So start of production is the objective and the end game. And let me be clear, it is clearly the main objective today, but it is just the start of the game. So when we will start producing, we will start to have plenty of other opportunities to generate value for shareholders and for stakeholders and for the region. And we are certainly today already thinking about all the things that we can do afterwards and ensuring that what we do today is compatible with doing more things in the future. On The share price side, even though the share price has progressed well in the last months, and even though we are one of the best performing shares in the system, there still is a lot of value to be tapped. On a P to NAV comparison that those who follow us have seen in the past, it remains very clear that when comparing to international peers, and out of here in the international peers that we refer here, you have the best lithium companies in the world. So we're not comparing to locals, we're not comparing to regionals, we're comparing to the best in the world. Their valuations are higher, which means that those buying into Savannah today should be buying a good opportunity for value generation in the future as we continue to become valued a bit more closely to our international peers, and as we continue to de-risk the project and increase value delivery as we go. So important to bear in mind this. If you see in detail, you will see that you have some, in some of the peers here, you have companies that are European based, but again, we are focused on being a project that is very, very good from any global standards. And so the comparison to the international peers is more and more relevant as we show that we are capable of building a project, a global benchmark project of the best quality possible and with the best value delivery possible from Europe. The conclusion slides don't bring anything new. They're just support for questions that you may have, but they repeat what we have referred in the last year frequently. Our ambition is to build a benchmark project with value delivery in all fronts. And that's for the team, for licensing, for the local community, for the valuation front. We're working on all of these fronts. We're working on ensuring that all of these fronts are prepared for everything that is ahead. And what is ahead is making this company way more Portuguese, way more local, and make it become one of the most successful established lithium players in the system in only 2 to 3 years' time. I will open to questions. I will try to answer some of the questions that have come as I was talking, and please do continue to pop a few others as you'd like. We still have about 20 minutes, so I'd like to use that time to the best benefit of those who are listening to me. So there is a question on what we are doing to mitigate any political details and our assessment of the success of these activities. So we're doing what a company in our position should be doing. We are addressing all concerns. We are talking about all the details of our project and ensuring that we show that the project is very robust from any standard. We are engaging proactively with everyone that is involved in speeding up procedures, in ensuring that the legal procedures that are associated to our project are done on time and that they are not delayed. So we have talked to a variety of ministers, secretaries of state, people in charge of critical fronts in all the entities that we have to engage with. We are doing that as we speak. And it is obviously a priority for us to try to ensure that within the system that we are part of, and we are developing a project in Portugal, and developing such projects includes coping with how things work in Portugal. We're trying to ensure that they work as well as possible and that we reduce the risk of any further delays. I think that the good receptiveness of the project, the improved perception around the project, and the endorsements that we have referred in the slides help you understand that I feel much more confident today than only a few months ago. But obviously, it is work in progress, and we will want to continue working towards reducing again the risk of any further delays. There is also a question on local opposition and on how active it is. What we have seen in the recent months is that the more we engage locally, the more we show that we are open to talking about everything, and the more we show exactly what we are doing to everyone locally, the better. What we have also seen is that the more our team is comprised of local people, but people that are also of the best competence and capacity possible, the best. So we're not hiring local just because just for the sake of hiring local. We are hiring people who have the capabilities that are required for the team to perform to its best, and we are finding many of those locally. So it is a good news that we are seeing good local talents being able to support us. And local, when I talk about local, I talk about the Trás-os-Montes region. We are also hiring people from the Portuguese coast that are moving to live in Boticas and in the small villages around Boticas, and that is also important for the region, because the region needs to attract a younger population and needs to attract more people to thrive. And we are also seeing some people who are part of the Boticas community but have left the region for years or for decades and are today in the US or in France or in Switzerland and are asking to come back, are asking for opportunities to work with us so as to come back to their hometown. And that is also good to see and important to see. Is there still opposition to the project? There is still a group that opposes the project, and to be honest, I don't expect the group to go away. What I expect is that group will not be able to mobilize everyone else and instigate fear onto everyone else, because everyone else will be seeing exactly what we are doing and will be seeing that we are doing the right thing. And so the opposition group will remain. There is no project that is of uniform reading by everyone, and people don't support anything at 100%. But I would say that today, a majority of the population in the region understands the project, understands what we are doing, and is starting to support us, which is great to see. There's another question on when we will anticipate phase two real results. There's also another question on the next big steps towards the finish line. Let me answer both in parallel. So we have talked about it in the presentation, but I reinforce. So field work, completion of the DFS and the environmental licensing process. These are important fronts that we're working on as we speak. Building the team so that we are ready to build and execute the next steps of the project. You all know that the team that is required to build this project is in the order of the hundreds to the thousands. And so the more we build a very, very solid team today, the more we will be able to do everything according to the best standards afterwards. We're getting prepared for construction also in terms of CapEx financing, partnership, contractors. So we're progressing also in that front. We will continue to work towards striking additional commercial agreements for the remaining of the production volumes on the spodumene side, on the lithium side, but also on the ceramic side. We've had very interesting talks with potential buyers of the product, potential partners in that front. So we will hopefully have good news there over the coming months. And then it's construction in 25 and 26 and production in 27. And as referred, that moment of production is not the finish line, it's the start line for so many things that we are already starting to envisage and that we will talk about when time comes. A view on the current trading pattern. It is. There's also another element associated to Lake Mr. Archer and to its shares. Obviously, I cannot talk about the shares of someone else. It would be against the rules. But on the current trading pattern, it is quite obvious that the project is better perceived today. And as it is better perceived, I think that investors will understand more and more that this is a project that will be done and that will generate very significant value. We are also seeing more and more interest from Portuguese shareholders, which we welcome, and that obviously helps support the share price. But again, at 4p, I would say that the brokers and the researchers that analyze the share see significant potential for further growth, and the comparison versus peers also seems to signal exactly that. So I would hope that we can continue to deliver value on the share price. There's a question on why lithium and why Europe. I hope that the presentation answered that question. I've been working in energy transition in mobility for more than 10 years now, and I can tell you that my reason for having moved to lithium is very, very clear, and the ability to build projects in this sector and the importance of building them according to the best standards and at the best speed possible is of utmost importance. And things that are of utmost importance deliver a lot of value. That's the reason why we're working on lithium. That's also the reason why we're doing it from Europe, because we can do it from Europe. There was until recently a perception that mining projects cannot be done in Europe. Just look at what Calibre is doing in Finland. They're doing spodumene mining projects. They're building it as we speak. They have hundreds of people working on site right now. They're geared to start producing next year, and it is a great project. And our project is as good, will be as solid, and will be bigger. So we can do these projects in Europe, we can do these projects in Portugal, and we have the resource here, exactly where we are, and the resource dictates where we develop the projects. And it is clear for us that the opportunity of Savannah is a great opportunity, and the responsibility for developing it is big, and it is in our shoulders. There's another question on whether we consider the BLP a strategic project, and if yes, do we think that the EU will agree with you? The answer is yes and yes. We will wait for the strategic project application procedure to go through, obviously, and I obviously don't know what the outcome will be, but it is obvious to me that Savannah's project is one of the most strategic projects for Europe, as classified by the CRMA and as classified by all the measures that are aimed at accelerating the battery and electric vehicle value chain in Europe. There's another question also associated to past delays in the project, and what makes us confident that this time Savannah can go through to production. Well, it is common that at this stage of the project, some shareholders are tired of the process. Mining projects take very long to prepare. They take very long to get to production. They take a lot of effort by many, a lot of money by investors and by shareholders to get to the stage where you know that you have an amazing project at hand, and that you have the permits, you have the structural elements, you have the knowledge of how to build the project so as to be successful. And so it is normal that this question appears at this stage. The answer is that one. We have everything at hand to do a great project. We have the permits, we have the endorsement, we have the local community ties that are improving as we speak. We have the knowledge, we have the capability, we have the resource, we have all the engineering studies that confirm that this project is doable and delivers very significant value. So the more we are close to the day that we will open, the more 100% certain we are that Savannah will go through to production. This is, I think, the answer that I can provide. Is there always risk, and are there always obstacles to the path that we have still ahead of us? Yes, there are. But the more we progress and the more we see steps behind us, the more the following steps are easier and the more they are of importance for value delivery. How much do we think we can extend the resources of the current project, and if there is significant potential? I will not answer with a number at this stage, but I will reinforce that yes, there is significant more potential inside the concession area, and we know that as we progress this block of the project to production, we will work on the other blocks, and they will deliver good news. When are new Portuguese lithium resources to be auctioned, and will we be bidding? I don't have an answer for this. I think I have referred this to two presentations ago. My reading is that it is important for the Portuguese government to show international investors that a project goes through, so as to auction the other projects and the other areas. What I know is that our project has the best concession area and has the best resource out there. So we are attentive to other opportunities, yes, but we know that the most important for us is to deliver this one. There's also another question associated to delay in the FS is understandable due to land access for drilling. I hope I have also reinforced that land access from now on will start to use the other legal instruments, and so I see less and less land access as a risk going forwards. The question is whether there are other limiting factors for recape, and the answer is no. There is work that needs to be done. This drilling will also feed more information to the recape process. Some of the work that is being done in other fronts on water, on nature, on observation of wildlife and everything else are important steps in the direction of recape. But no, we don't see any limiting factors in our work towards recape. We do see that there are a variety of entities that we need to work with so as to get a very solid recape, and so we will need to be working with them side by side, and we will want to make sure that they also work in the project with the right level of priority, so as to not to ensure that there are no delays. Was there any damage caused to the project by the bad weather across Portugal and Spain in the last couple of days? It's a good question, and I can, with this question, also answer another one not associated to the last days, but to the last weeks. And the world is becoming more extreme in terms of weather conditions. That happens everywhere, and so it is it shouldn't be a surprise today that we are today talking about bad weather with rain and winds, and only was it 6 weeks ago or 7 weeks ago we were talking about wildfires. So for today and for now, no impact whatsoever. There was a loss of power at some point in Boticas for a few hours. Just a few days ago, it was short, and it is not normal. So the electricity network there is actually quite good, but there was it had basically no impact for us and no impact in the operations. On the wildfires, there was at some point a strange theory about the origin of wildfires, and it's in between strange and absurd. I can tell you that fortunately, Boticas and Ribeira de Pena, the two municipalities, were not hit by the fires, or not significantly hit by the fires. And given that our concession area is just a very small portion of the Boticas municipality, very close to the Ribeira de Pena municipality, we were absolutely not affected. Everyone stayed safe, all equipment stayed safe, and the concession area stayed exactly as it is. And it is obviously important for us that those natural challenges do not affect the region, because the region is our region. Our people live there, their families live there, and we want to progress our project to execution in the region. So it was good that no wildfires happened there, apart from a very small one. There was one of those of a few hours only. In the wider region in Vila Pouca de Aguiar, so it's about an hour away from our project. The wildfires affected it significantly, and so obviously I feel sorry for Vila Pouca de Aguiar, and I hope that in the future we can also help them. Another question on how the battery value chain in Portugal is growing and progressing. Is Savannah taking the lead? If yes, when? I think that the question here is not on the battery value chain as a whole, it's on the PRR application called CVB, Cadeia de Valor das Baterias. So let me answer on the battery value chain as a whole. I see it progressing well. I referred in one of the slides that we have a good number of projects for refineries. We have the country has a project for battery plant that is quite large. We have certainly seen interest by many companies, global companies that we have talked to in the recent past, in investing more in the country or in the region, in the wider region, being Iberia. So I am very positive that over the coming 10 years, Portugal and Spain, and hopefully especially Portugal, will be successful in building a battery value chain that includes many plants and includes the value chain as much as possible until the electric vehicle and until the big batteries that support the electrical system. There is a lot of work to be done there. On the sub-question associated to the PRR, and I unfortunately don't have a development there. We have talked to the entity in charge of the process only a few days ago. And the person that answers the question perhaps knows that the entity had a change of leadership only a few weeks ago. So we're waiting patiently. We would certainly hope that that process has been done by now, actually a few months ago, but unfortunately we just have to wait. For the others who don't know exactly what this is, the PRR process is basically a consortium that is comprised of 19 companies, out of which Savannah is one. It has an application for European funds under the Next Gen funding system that has supported and is supporting plenty of industrial projects throughout Europe and in Portugal also. This PRR application is an application that is yet to be fully granted and considered. And obviously, we, as part of the 19 entities that would love to accelerate the sub-elements of our projects that are associated to this process, would love to have that granted and the process going. If and when that is granted, it will allow us to have more financing to further accelerate the project. Which projects does Savannah best compare to in Europe? I've referred Calibre. I would say that it's probably the only one that we compare to in terms of the quality of the project, in terms of the delivery and the quality of the delivery itself, in terms of the resource, and in terms of the economic value. The Calibre project is also a spodumene project. It's also open pit. It is being built as we speak, so it is already fully funded and it is already under construction. It is a project that is being done in Finland according to the Finnish standards. So the only difference, or the only very relevant two differences that I see to our project is first that they are more advanced because they are already building. And second, that our resource is significantly larger, and so we can hopefully generate even more, as much or even more value to our shareholders.
Perfect. Emmanuel, I might just jump in there. We've just hit the hour. I'd just like to thank you for addressing all of those questions from investors. Of course, the company can review all the questions submitted today, and we will publish those responses out on the Investor Meet Company platform. Just before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to you and the company, Emmanuel, could I just ask you for a few closing comments?
Um, Nothing special in particular, Alessandro. I think that this exercise that we have now made a bit more regular this year of talking to our investors on an open platform is an important exercise. I hope you also do like it and do welcome the effort. I know that we don't answer all the questions here because we don't have time, so please feel free to send them over by email to Asa or to the general emails of the company or to myself, and we'll be happy to respond now or to try to have the presentation tailored next time to respond to them. Thank you.
Perfect. Emmanuel, thank you once again for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close the session, as you now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Savannah Resources PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good afternoon to you all.